Well, I guess just to kind of get started, when did you first start speedrunning Hollow Knight?
Well, I joined pretty early actually in July 2017, so
Okay,
it's close to closing in on 3 years now.
goodness. Okay,
The community was pretty small at that point, though. I think probably most of the people you've talked to came in a bit later.
yeah, I believe Scurry and Visuals were like 2018. Monsta in particular was pretty early on, sort of late 2017, I believe. But yeah, so it looks like you've been here for a while. I'm gonna guess any percent. Is what you
Yeah,
started
that was my my initial one,
with? Okay.
because that was the only the only category that really had significant effort put into it at that point.
Okay.
A
Why do you
lot
think
of
that is? Go ahead.
just the size of the community. Like, if you can only really congeal around one thing, then it's going to be the kind of whatever the default category for that game is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need
Makes
like a
sense.
certain size before you can really kind of expand to other things and stretch your limbs a bit, I guess.
That's fair. Yeah, I think there's something to be said about sort of spreading yourself too thin too early, you know? Okay, that's fair. So it starts off mainly people are running 80%. But it seems like there's a little bit of activity in True Ending around the 2017. Did you follow any of that at all? I think Monsta was the one who brought it down to sub 2 hours, right?
I wasn't really following it closely at that point.
Okay, that's fair. One of the reasons that your name was mentioned along with Murray's is that I believe you guys have helped with sort of rerouting or just routing in general. Does that sound correct?
Well, I think Murray is the bigger part of that.
Okay.
Him along with a guy called Dark Demon, who I haven't heard anything since they helped with routing.
Okay.
They were the two main ones, kind of helping with the route that Scurry then adopted and completely destroyed the world record with, bringing it down. I don't remember how many minutes in only a few weeks or something.
Okay. Hang on, let's take a look at that. I'm curious which one in particular you're referring to. Hang on, Man, this chart is something else. Okay. So let's see here. Scurry. Was it 117.36 from Monstas? 118? No, that doesn't sound right. I'm curious which one in particular. Because I think, if I remember correctly, I talked to Murray earlier today, or I guess for you yesterday, but he was telling me that there was a route change where they got the elegant key, right? Is that the one? Because I think
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Demon Dark or Dark Demon or whatever brought up that idea, right? And I'm trying to think that was like mid 2017 or 2018, sorry. And I need to figure out when that route is first used. I guess we can go back and look. But so you said that Scurry uses that route to just start taking a lot of time off of the record, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Okay. Do you follow True Ending very much at all?
I follow it, but I haven't really run it much myself.
I gotcha.
I'm not sure like what the impression other people have given you, but it's really quite an intimidating category. It's actually genuinely very difficult.
Yeah, I've gotten that feeling. Why do you think that it is, or could you maybe explain to me why it's sort of a difficult category?
It's kind of difficult to optimize because there's so many bosses, and the bosses are the hardest part to optimize about this game because there's so many RNG elements. There's so many kind of tiny variations in what you can do to make them maybe faster, but maybe slower on average or whatever. But there's also, besides just optimizing it, there's actually being able to finish a run because you have 5 health and you have to defeat, basically all of the strongest enemies that exist in the base game with, very limited tool set.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good write up, I think. I mean it's almost like a combination of like not all bosses, but you're fighting a lot of the big bosses. You're not skipping anything. You're not skipping a lot, I should say. But you're also doing it at like a low percent as opposed to like 100% where you get everything. It's a low percent. It's almost like we're trying to do as little as possible. We get as few upgrades. We get as few health. Got to fight as all the bosses that we can. So it sounds pretty intimidating. Especially with the Radiant at the end. The Radiants. That fight looks awful. I got to be honest. Go ahead.
I don't know. Her especially because especially at the start before the category really kind of developed, most people were only really used to that fight from the perspective of 100%. So the idea of even routing a category that didn't fight her with that kind of tool set was just kind of like, nobody really wanted to do that, or very few people wanted to do that.
Okay. Do you have an idea why Scurry might want to pick that up? Because I think it was really just Monsta and for a long time just him, and then I think Fireborn took the time a little bit. But what do you think that some people would even pick up the category? Or I guess that's kind of a vague question. It might be a little reaching. I don't know if you have any idea why people would want to do that.
I don't know Scurry all that well personally, but he seems really attracted to the to the challenge, but also to the fact that nobody else was really doing it. He's I think quite open to doing new things and trying this stuff out. So I think it was a combination of that and him being someone who's up to the task.
Okay. Do you follow visuals very much? Or I guess I keep saying do you follow these people, but it's like you're obviously, because you're a mod in the community, right? So I'm sure you have a finger on the pulse.
I'm aware of what they've been doing.
Yeah. Did you pay attention to much of their rivalry? There was a bit of a back and forth for a little while there. Did you kind of follow along with any of that?
Yes, but funny thing, like organizing this was a bit awkward because of time zones, but Scurry and Viz mainly stream while I'm asleep, I guess. So I was never online watching their streams that much when they got the insane times, but I was following 6 hours behind, I guess.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I keep forgetting that some of y'all are European. That changes the whole time aspect. Yeah, I always think that. I guess that's just a privilege of being an American. I'm all privileged. I just have the idea that things just happen, and whenever I'm awake, it's like no, sometimes things happen at like 5 a.m. Okay, all right. So could you maybe help walk me through some of the routing challenges of routing some of the bosses? Because I think you have to get essence for the dream nail. I played the game. I never beat it. It was actually kind of hard, and I got a little frustrated at some point. And I was like, you know what? gonna put this down for a little bit. So, but could you help maybe walk me through some of the bosses that that they fight and like why they choose those over other ones?
So the main kind of dependency of the route, I guess, is the Dream Gate, like you talked about, which becomes available at 900 essence. And the fastest way to get that essence wasn't really a mystery, because Lost Kin gives 400. That's a lot, and he's required, or Broken Vessel is required anyway, because you want the Monarch Wings. Xero gives 100 essence. He's right in Resting Grounds. So you have, 400 more to make up. And Failed Champion is another big one. He gives 300 essence. He's right next to a stag station. But the issue with Failed Champion is actually being able to fight and consistently kill him at the stage in the game before you have Dream Gate. So that was kind of the main problem that early routes were working around. Like there was one route that I think it was a guy called Magalore who came up with the route that got an extra nail upgrade just to be able to beat Failed Champ consistently that early on, which ends up being a lot slower. But just to put into perspective how much routing around that boss impacts kind of how things work out. Because after you have Dream Gate, you want to get Shade Cloak as quickly as possible, which means you then do Hornet 2, the Hornet 2 fight in Kingdom's Edge, so you can get into the Abyss for Shade Cloak. And then after that, it kind of just works itself out, because you go through Umu into Queen's Gardens, and then in Queen's Gardens you have Traitor Lord, which you need to fight. And then you go down into Deep Nest to Hera, and then you can kind of finish off White Palace and Void Heart and all that.
Right.
So it's mainly that kind of early stuff up until Dream Gate.
And that's when the real kind of that's the real crux of the issue, is that first section.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. You had mentioned Magalore. I've heard that name before. And you were saying that he was getting a nail upgrade. Roughly, what is the time frame of Magalore? Like, where is he in this time scale?
This would have been kind of, I think, from like mid 2017 to early 2018, somewhere in that range.
Gotcha. Because yeah, I've heard of him, and he's not. I don't know if he has a world record at any point. I don't think he does. So I don't see him on the chart, which is why it's kind of hard to like place him where he is. I guess I could have just looked at the PB or something, but so he's going for that, and then so that's not the current route. So there was the Elegant Key route that happens, which is what Scurry uses to help push. Is he using? Sorry, well, I guess what. He uses that in 2018. I don't know why. You know, it's really weird. Normally, we do videos and they cover like a 10-year time span, right? Hollow Knight is pretty new, so it's only like 3 years old, right? I think it just passed 3 years a month or two ago. But for some reason, for just 3 years, for the life of me, I cannot wrap my brain around the timeline of what's going on in 3 years. I don't know why. I don't know why it is. So you were saying Magalore is doing that route, and then it's kind of like going into early 2018. And then Fireborn shows up, it looks like. Is Fireborn doing a different route? Do you remember?
I think Fire was doing the same route at first, actually.
The one that Magalore was using?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Now I know at some point the lever skip is found. And that's sort of how we start playing on 1-2-2-1, right? Or was that earlier?
No, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So we start switching to 1-2-2-1. When is lever skip found roughly? What is that, mid 2018 or?
I don't remember specifically, actually.
Okay. So with lever skip, how does that change how routing works? Like what does it give you access to, or what is it, what is it, what doors does it open?
Literally, what does that?
Yeah, literally, what doors does it open?
Well, the main one would be getting into Shade Soul without the elegant key. Which,
Okay.
of course, we know now that getting the elegant key is better, but I think there was a route that collected // just to kind of extend the range of your nail and hit that lever to Shade Soul.
Okay. And then Shade Soul is the upgraded Vengeful Soul or Vengeful Spirit?
Vengeful Spirit, yeah.
Spirit. Okay, there we go. And so now that you have the upgraded Fireball or whatever you want to call it, how does that change how routing works? Right? Does that makes the fights easier? I assume.
Yeah. But also, like, back to what I was talking about the kit that you fight Radiance with,
Mm-hmm.
being able to have Shade Soul, kind of, it makes it appealing to then skip other damage upgrades like Shriek that people used to get. But now that you have Shade Soul and you have it so easily and you have it from so early on, it's now appealing to kind of to just keep that. And even though it makes some later fights harder than they would be with Shriek, it also makes some early fights easier because you have Shade Soul. Whereas with a Shriek route, you would have Wraiths, which is the basic up spell, which is not
Mm-hmm.
very good at all.
Okay. So it's like it might be a little harder towards the end, but I assume because going out of your way to go get, Wraith or Shriek.
Yeah.
I never remember the names. I'm sorry. The upgraded up spell, right? That takes forever to go out of the way, right? Or not forever, but you know what I mean. It takes time to go out of the way for that.
Yeah, it does.
So then, okay. So then using the sorry. Using Vengeful Spirit, no. Shade Spirit. Shade Soul. There we go.
You got it.
I'm sorry. I must sound like an idiot. Okay. You get Shade Soul, and that helps with the fights. So why specifically Shade Soul over the other ones? I guess you said because you said up special isn't that good, or was it specifically the unupgraded up shade or up special isn't good?
It's specifically the unupgraded one.
Okay.
Well, I mean, there are a few different kind of damage options, but none of them is really as good as Shade Soul as it turned out. Like, for example, what you could do is you could do Soul Sanctum to get Dive, use Dive to access Fluke Mom and get Fluke Nest from her. And that's Fluke Nest with Shade Soul is a really strong combination that just completely destroys everything, including Radiance. But that's so slow to get that it's just, even though it's so much faster in the fights, it's so much slower in general.
Right. Okay.
So it's more like Hollow Knight just doesn't have that many fast damage upgrades to get.
Okay. Okay. So that means you have to do most of the boss fights with just one upgraded spell, essentially, more or less.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. And that helps sort of adds more difficulty to the already difficult category of like, we can't just go get everything. We have to use essentially just one.
Yeah. And the other thing about Shade Soul specifically is that when you have it and that's your main damage output, optimizing fights becomes very much about precise positioning and timing in order to get those double hits with the spell, because that bumps you from 80 per cast. Oh, sorry, from 40 per cast to 80. So that becomes really, really important to optimizing the category, is getting those double hits consistently, and that makes a lot of the fights in True Ending very impressive, especially the Radiance fight, because some of the precise positioning that you have to do to get optimal damage out while dodging all of her attacks, and you only have 5 health and all this stuff.
Yeah, I believe it. I was going to ask, could you explain more about the double hit thing? Because I heard it mentioned before, but do you know how that works?
Yeah, so all of the kind of fireball spells, every upgrade of them, it hits enemies back a little bit when it hits them. And if it hits them right, in the right spot with the right timing, then they get hit back, and then the hitbox passes through them a second time.
Okay.
So that essentially doubles your damage on any cast.
Man. Yeah, I mean, doing 40 to 80 damage is such a huge jump.
Yeah, definitely. It's massive.
What roughly what's the damage range for the other specials, the other upgraded specials?
So Shriek does 120 damage, which is
okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. But like I said, it's slow to get. The other one, the upgraded dive, does 88 damage, I think.
Okay. Specific.
Which is decent, but the problem with dive, the upgraded dive, is that specifically for Radiance, she's up in the air, so it's it's just not a damage source for her.
That makes sense. Yeah. You don't want to use your down special when you should be using your up special or a side. Okay. All right. So I guess trying to wrap things up here, I guess. Do you see any potential for any reroutes or anything new for the category? If I'm not mistaken, I believe True Ending is kind of at a place where it's not really going to get much more changes from here. But the other thing that I think about is that True Ending is like this weird traveling salesman's problem of like, you got to go this place, you get this thing, and that place, you go that thing, right? I get to fight this boss, and on the way, go do this, go do that, right? Got to pick up relics so you can sell them for Geo. It seems like there's got to be a better route out there, but then again, eventually you do have to come out to the ultimate or the optimal route. But do you think anything will ever change, or do you think we're pretty locked in?
My prediction would be that not much will change from here on.
Okay.
You're right. There is a lot of moving parts to it, but I feel like this always comes up with speedrun routes where everyone finds the current route to be so unsatisfying because it seems like there are all these small problems that could just be fixed, but it ends up being like the current route doesn't seem that fast, but then when you try any of these other things, you end up realizing that every other option is just really slow. So it's less, that you're confident that this is the fastest route, but more that it's the least slow route that you have.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. especially about all the things where it's like, oh man, if we could just fix this little thing, we'd save so much time. But no, you really can't. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
So, okay. I guess. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think I should ask you? If you were watching this video, right, the Hollow Knight speedrun history for True Ending, is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you think that I should cover?
There's one or two things that I feel like should be included. Do you have?
Okay.
Are you aware of the run Scurry did? It wasn't a world record run, so you might not have it down anywhere.
Okay.
Where
Can you tell me which one?
It was a 109, a high 109, I think.
109. Okay, I'll look into it. So high 109.
In this run, he had it was a completely insane run. He was incredibly far ahead. It was world record pace. And then in White Palace, he made just a complete brain fart and messed up one of the shortcuts and had to do one of the sections for the first time kind of in the casual way since his casual playthrough. But then, at the end of White Palace, he was still ahead and he still got within striking distance of the world record at the end of the run. So that run is kind of one that I remember quite clearly because of that, because it just kind of shows, a lot of people would have just given up at the moment that they make a major mistake. The run is just over in your head. You can't get over that. But Scurry has that kind of personality where he just, like he might have given up a little bit for a moment, but then he just kind of he got on with it. He closed out the run, and it was a good run. I feel like that's really rare, and that's something I could never do, because I'd get so tilted by that kind of mistake.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'll look in my notes because I know we have a lot of runs, even runs that aren't world record. So we might have this one, but I will.
Yeah, that one might be in there.
I wrote a note down and I'm going to look at it. So a high 109. I'll look at that. I'll ask Scurry if nothing else. There was one other thing you said.
Yeah, it's more of like an anecdote, I guess, like a funny time save that we found in the route.
Sure. What's that?
It was kind of randomly one day while I was verifying runs. I think it was a run for all skills, actually. And it was by someone who wasn't in the Discord, wasn't, part of the community. I think they were a Chinese runner. And
okay.
I was just kind of, not paying full attention, just kind of watching the run just to verify it. And I noticed that he did something completely weird at Shade Cloak. When he kind of collected Shade Cloak, he quit out to the menu and then loaded back in and then continued. And this was something that nobody did. Nobody had thought about. And at the moment that I saw it, I was like, that's so weird. Why are they doing that? But then I thought to time it just to be sure, and it ended up saving 10 seconds. That was saving 10 seconds in all skills and in True Ending.
Interesting.
Just by this random person that nobody has ever interacted with before or since. I feel like that kind of sums up speedrunning in a lot of ways. The kind of like just random person who you don't even know just comes in and saves 10 seconds in, major categories. And you just never hear from them.
Interesting.
And it would have been completely missed very easily.
Yeah. So, what about it specifically saves 10 seconds, right? So, I guess it's not saving and quitting, right? Or is it saving and quitting?
Yeah, it is. Well, because collecting Shade Soul, it sets a hard save there.
Okay.
So the kind of idea of quitting back to that point never really made sense because it's an inconvenient point. But why it saves time is because the animation of you collecting the shade cloak and it kind of like being absorbed into you is so long that it's just 10 seconds faster to return to the main menu and then load back in.
That's a long animation.
Yeah, it really is.
Look, we just save and quit. Okay, I guess, does it count that you got it like as soon as the animation starts? They just pause and quit and then start.
Yeah, that's how most stuff in this game works, actually.
Okay. I just assumed, but it's good to verify that. One other thing that I wanted to ask. I have heard that this was an issue, not an issue, but so lever skip, I guess, or maybe I don't know if it was lever skip in particular. There was something about it. I was told that initially there wasn't like a discussion about it. Someone had found the glitch, and then someone had done a run of no major glitches, or maybe it was just glitchless. And they submitted the run, and then it was approved. But then later on, like a month or two later, they went back and they watched the run and they go, wait a minute. These guys using a glitch. And they're like, oh, well, it's already in the run, so we might as well just allow it. And that's just how lever skip is in no major glitches now.
Yeah, that's kind of true. So, just to cover myself, I wasn't moderator at this point, so
okay,
not my fault.
All right, cool. You got to cover your tracks.
But yeah, like I said, the community didn't start very large. Hollow Knight as a game has kind of like grown over the last few years through, I guess, personal recommendations and stuff. So, and that's reflected in the community as well. It really kind of grew a lot since then, but there wasn't really much kind of direction in terms of how rules went.
Okay.
It was kind of more, does this feel like a glitch? Does that feel like a glitch? And the hitting the levers through walls thing just kind of slipped through that process because there wasn't really much of a process there. But I think even if it had been voted on at that point, I feel like it might have been allowed. And personally, I like it just because of how much it opens up certain routes through the game, especially the Shade Soul one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I can definitely understand that it might be frustrating for someone to feel like the no major glitches aspect of the category doesn't apply as much because of this.
Okay. Yeah, it's what I'm trying to say. The idea of like, does it feel like a glitch or whatever? Versus, that's always a hard discussion, right? And in any game, it's like, oh, this is the glitchless category. It's like, okay, but we also allow you to do like this weird double jump thing in the corner. It's like, oh, that seems like a glitch. This is supposed to be glitchless.
Yeah, definitely.
And then it's like, oh, okay, you got to have this conversation. I swear, in every video that we do, right? Like, we always get comments of people like, oh, this is a glitch run. This isn't a speed run. This is glitched. I'm like, oh no. We have casuals who are commenting on like what a glitch is. Oh man.
Yeah, but even within communities, these discussions can be a little just because they're subjective, I guess.
Yeah. It is, yeah, it legitimately is incredibly subjective. And people get really heated because it's like their own opinions, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. It's like, yeah, it's like they think this is how it should be, but then other people argue that's not, but there's no like proof. So it's hard to not verify, but it's hard to come up with a good argument without having just a ton of arbitrary rules or just subjective rules. So
yeah, exactly. And at this point, everything that's decided is by community vote now. So this kind of stuff, even if you disagree with a certain particular rule, at least you know that it comes from the community, rather than, like the levers thing, where it was because you never had that conversation.
Yeah.
People might think that things would have gone differently. So it's just important to talk about it and to have the conversation, I think, because you can't stop people from wanting, their own particular thing, but it does kind of like calm people down and bring them down to know that at least it's been discussed.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm a moderator for a couple of other speed games. In particular, the one that I mainly play is Pokemon Snap, and I forgot how long ago it was. It was a couple of years ago. The main thing was that the game comes out on N64, and then it's on the Wii Virtual Console, but then it was coming out on Wii U Virtual Console, and the Wii U version was like lagless, and people were afraid that the N64 is like the main one, the one that like 90% of people play, and the Wii VC one kind of sucks. It's not that good. It's not any faster. It's actually slower, which is kind of weird. They thought that the Wii U VC was going to take over, and it was going to become the fastest route, and it actually is. It's actually like a lot faster. Long story short, people wanted a leaderboard split, right? And there were two sides of the argument, and they were both very adamant, like yes, leaderboard split or no leaderboard split. And we had a very heated debate for, gosh, it was like 2 weeks. And eventually it's like, guys, we have to vote on this. Like, we're going to tear each other apart. We're going to destroy this entire community if we don't, because it started getting to like personal attacks. And it's like, okay. It's like, okay, guys, we need to take a step back. We need to vote on this, get it moving so we can move on. And as soon as we had that vote, as soon as the vote was over and everything was decided, things calmed down significantly. It was like, okay, we had the discussion. We got everybody in the, and every active runner, and everyone who had a time on the board who was active, who responded to messages, I guess, voted. And then we finally decided what to do, and then we did it. And then from there, it went kind of back to normal. So yeah, I know the feeling of like, you got to talk it out, and you got to have a vote. And then once you do that, okay, our voices were heard, and somebody won, somebody lost.
That's a pretty cool speed game, actually. I think I saw a world record progression video on YouTube at some point for Pokemon Snap, and all the kind of lag strats to it is actually pretty cool.
I'm glad you liked it, because I made that video.
Really?
Yeah. So I made a video originally on my channel. It's funny. So sidetracked. The interview is pretty much over. I'm just kind of chatting before I let you go. So I met CJitsallGewd, and we became friends, and we were talking about stuff, and he was like, "You're a really good speaker. You have a good voice, and you have like the potential to be a good orator and stuff. We should come up with like videos that you can do and stuff." And he's a video editor, right? And so we were talking, and I'm like, I've already kind of done the groundwork for a Pokemon Snap speedrun history video. We should do that. And he was like, let's do it. Let's do it for SGDQ 2017 or whatever, 2018. I forget what year. Anyways, not important. So let's get it done before then. And in 5 days, we recorded and edited all that stuff. We put that video out, and it was a big success. And because we made that video, and because it was so successful, we're like, we should do this more. We can do more games than just the ones we play, right? So that's the whole reason that we started Speed Docs at all. It's because we made that one video on a whim, and now we've been doing it for 2 years.
That's funny that's the video that I remember then.
Yeah. I don't get how YouTube's algorithm works sometimes, because that's on my personal YouTube channel, and my personal YouTube channel, for whatever reason, cannot be monetized. I've met all of the requirements, but I think I've uploaded games that have like copyrighted music. And so I have like not strikes, but I have like copyright notices or whatever. So it's like, hey, just let you know, the copyright holder has put a note on this video. Like, you're not in trouble or anything. There's no strikes on your account, but because it has copyrighted material in it, like, you can't monetize that. But that applied to my whole channel. So that whole big video that we made got like 300,000 views, and we couldn't monetize that at all. It was super lame. And since we've moved over to a new channel, which we can monetize now, which is the Speed Docs channel, I feel like we make way better videos. Like, our video our production value has gone through the roof. We've gotten significantly better at what we do, especially with like script writing and the format that we do now, stuff like that. Like, we've gotten way better at it. Those videos don't get nearly as much traffic, and it's like kind of frustrating. I don't know. One day.
I have no idea how YouTube works. I get videos in my recommended every day that I've never watched anything like this. Why am I interested? I'm not.
Yeah. I don't think YouTube knows how YouTube works, to be honest. Because, well, one last thing, and then we'll go and kill this thing. But yeah, the YouTube algorithm is like, it's like a learning machine, or a learning process. I don't know how you does an AI kind of thing, and based on how successful things are, it just runs with that. So they kind of just like set it up, turned it on, and like let it go, and it just does everything on its own, and they don't really control it. They just kind of observe it, and they make like small adjustments as they see it. But a lot of times, like, there's some weird effects that happen, and sometimes you get recommended videos that you're like, why would I be interested in watching? I don't even know an example. I can't even think of one off the top of my head. I get like children's TV shows sometimes.
Yeah, I get the same thing, like people singing along to children's songs or something.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? I literally never watched. Well, I guess I watched Baby Shark once, but that's beyond the, that should not be what I'm getting recommended on a regular basis. Like, I watch a lot of like gaming stuff, but that's mainly it. But I don't know. But anyways, thanks for chatting with me. I know that this has kind of been a weird time zone struggle, and I think there wasn't really a good time for us, except for early for you and late for me. So
yeah, sorry about that.
It's all good, man. I'm up at this hour anyways. I'm a degenerate.